Delivering broad, diverse, and new games to Xbox means searching to find unique games from creators around the world that will surprise and delight. To me, these next few games do just that.
Exclusive world premiere.
In 4K.
Exclusive.
In 4K.
Exclusive world premiere.
In 4K.
Exclusive.
In 4K. Live 4K walkthrough.
Exclusive world premiere.
I'm already back in video games again. I'm really in the rabbit hole. I actually vaguely remember this story. When they were shutting down the Halo 2 servers, they couldn't do it because there was a couple players holding the servers hostage. They refused to go dark. They did not go quietly into the night.
If you've ever wondered why you can't connect to the internet on the original Xbox, it's because they shut down the Xbox Live 1.0 servers on April 15th, 2010.
That day still lives in infamy.
They tried to. The announcement was made in February. That gave gamers 2 months to say their final goodbyes to Xbox Live 1.0 and all those games that made the service so special. As April 15th quickly approached, Battlefront 2 and Halo 2 were filled with players wanting to relive that experience one more time before it was taken away.
God, that's so wholesome.
When that fateful day hit, and as the clock struck midnight, nothing. People were still online, and they were confused. It turned out Microsoft had changed the rules. No one else was allowed on the service, but if you were online when it got shut down, you could keep playing until you were done. So that was it. Just one rule. Don't get
I wish there was still a guy
no
holding
logging in
out.
anywhere else, no
I wish someone had
connection,
more
and
strength.
No turning off your Xbox. For some,
We
that
could
meant
still
getting
have
to
it.
play the game for just but the numbers slowly dwindled from 500 to 100 to 50, and finally 14. There was only 14 people keeping the original Xbox
fucking
Live
heroes.
alive, and they could only play with each other. When they were all online at the same time, they would play matchmaking. If not, they would have to play in custom games with no interface.
Wait, is this them? Is this the Noble 14? Well, one guy doesn't have a name. He's anonymous. In order to avoid being hunted by the government, I suppose. Surely they have videos from back then, right? You would think.
Each other. At this point, it had been 12 days. People's Xboxes were burning out and getting ruined, so why even stay on? Every player had their own answer, but I interviewed Apache Enforcer, and he had this to say.
I wanted to play with everybody. You know, especially it's not like
he still sounds mad about it.
Week. Well, there's no next week. I didn't like that because that was a reminder of a game that kept.
He sounds fucking pissed.
Created lots of friendship from it, and it's something that I
10 years
to,
later
play and enjoy again.
Bungie noticed this and even gave a few of them early access.
Hell hath no fury like a gamer
Not
unplugged.
That they were going to take them up on that offer and get a Microsoft spokesperson came out and said this: a small band of a committed few engaged in a battle against insurmountable odds. It's not noble team from Halo Reach. It's the final, passionate few who are still playing Halo 2.
That's so
we wish
cute.
them the best in their battle against time. They now had a name, the Noble 14. It was fitting. Halo Reach was just around the corner, and its theme was inevitability, just like Noble Team and Halo Reach.
God, how
Everyone knew
poetic.
that this was a battle
Oh my
with the
goodness.
Noble 14. As the third week came around, there was only 2 players left, Agent Windex and Apache Enforcer. And on May 10th at 4:15
Apache.
AM, Agent Windex got booted offline.
No!
There was only one person left.
Why?
Apache Enforcer, the last person ever on Xbox Live. When Windex was
No!
booted offline, he left this message in the forum. Good job, Apache. You're the last one.
I think I planned on playing it for 14, 15 hours.
What?
Basically an
Doing
hour
what?
for every person that played, the 14 of us, and then the extra hour for the community.
He
Oh
stayed
my
on
God,
for
that's so
22
cute.
hours after Agent Windex. Then he was booted offline too. And with that, the original Xbox Live was gone. I hope I never have to see the end of what I consider to be some of my best childhood memories. But if I do, I can only hope I can be as dedicated as these Noble 14.
What a moving story. Godspeed, Apache. He is still cold sweats, sleepless nights, shaking his fist mad at Windex for DCing. Just imagine, they only made it 3 weeks. I thought that shit went on for months. If it was me, you know what I'd do if I could do it over? City of Heroes. I would have held that fucking game hostage if I could have. Instead of just let it fade. I would have kept that computer running under any circumstance. A fucking flood wouldn't take it out. I'd have that shit encased in like epoxy or something, ventilated, climate controlled, make sure there's no chance of a power outage, and if there was, there'd be like 16 different ISPs all feeding into my internet for that one unit. I'd keep that shit on for life. I would have kept it on life support forever. You gotta stay committed. You know what? From now on, anytime any of you guys know about a game that's shutting down, let me know. I'm gonna hop in there and try and hold it hostage, just for the sake of it. See how long I could get them by the balls. Who folds first, them or me? They have to fucking pay me to get off their server. I don't even care if it's a game I like. It could be Overwatch. I don't care. No, I mean like they're shutting down a game. Usually when a multiplayer game shuts down that has a community, they give forewarning. Like they did with City of Heroes, like they did with Halo and all that. So whenever that comes, let me know. Like tag me in it on Twitter, and I'm hopping in. I will keep a machine running at all times. I'm sure you guys saw that fucking Ethereum farmer on Twitter, that fucking bastard, who had like an entire warehouse, multiple stories of nothing but 3090s running 24/7 in order to pump Ethereum. I would do that just to hold Jump Force hostage. They're shutting down the original Titanfall servers in March, right? Queuing up. I'm just gonna be a notorious, like, time bandit. Titanfall is unplayable though, isn't it? Yeah, it is. But maybe I can talk to the people that have hacked the entire game and just see if they'll let me hang out. Just to keep the server online. Like, they're doing it just to fuck with EA, I think. I'm kind of doing the same thing, right? I'm holding their servers hostage. Halo 3, ODST, and Reach are closing on January 22nd. Oh, the originals are closing down. So the OG 360 servers. So this is the exact same situation that Noble 14 was facing. It's my time to rise. I even have my fucking Master Chief helmet. I'm holding all 3 of those games hostage then. I've even got... I'll be honest, I didn't even know they still had the 360 servers up. So this one's right around the corner. January 13th. NBA 2K20 shuts down in 9 days. That's fine. They can bury that. I'm not even going to try to keep that alive. Fuck that. That whole goddamn franchise should go in the dirt. Is it possible to water cool an Xbox 360? No, which is why I'm going to have to build a climate-controlled environment, constantly pumping good juice to it, so it never overheats. I'll figure it out. My story is not going to be nearly as wholesome as Noble 14. They kept the servers alive, held them hostage so they could continue to play the game they love. I'd keep them alive just because fuck you. So mine probably wouldn't be as moving, I don't think. They certainly wouldn't write a cool story about it. Do you know what separates us from animals? It's our ability to learn, and learn at a high level. Complex, nuanced, big wrinkly brained things that only human beings are capable of. Yeah, a dog can learn to sit and roll over, and a wild animal will learn how to hunt more efficiently over time. Whoopee! But you know what humans can learn? We can learn to jiggle peek in Counter-Strike. We can learn to juggle. What else do you really need at the end of the day? You'll never see an animal do any of that shit, not even Air Bud. Point is, we can learn. And I think today it's important that all of you watching learn that criticizing video games is not a crime. I really think it's time we stop treating the purchasing of AAA games like it's some kind of heroic charitable act. For some reason now, there's been a trend where even if a game releases and it's absolute repulsive dog shit, people treat it like it's some kind of GoFundMe for a noble cause where it's like, yeah, but you bought the game and that's what matters. Thanks for supporting. Or if you decide that, hey, I bought this game and I really don't like it, so you start to criticize it, for some reason, there's a not small group of people that will label you evil and say that what you're doing is just wrong and unethical because so many people worked on the game. How could you say these awful things about it? I just think it's so backwards and weird. A lot of people have been upset that a lot of customers are criticizing Redfall heavily. Redfall has been catching more shit than the porta potty at a construction site. It is a bad game. And of course, I am guilty of shitting on it pretty ruthlessly, and it's because I expect more out of the studio behind it, which is Arcane, a fantastic studio. But what they've released here is nothing shy of a dirty hemorrhoid that is an absolute blemish on the butthole of the entire gaming industry. So I made a whole video just kind of going over all of its weakest parts and being pretty harsh on it. And that's because it's a $70 game. And it doesn't even deliver on the most bare bones quality standards you would expect in AAA gaming. It is 30 FPS locked on console, for example, which is a laughable joke, and it doesn't even meet the threshold for what you would expect from a modern title. It is lacking in every possible department. It feels like I just was the victim of an NFT rug pull for paying $70 for this game. It's not good. And pretty much everyone everywhere is saying the same things that I am. But there is a not super small group of people that are treating this game like it's an ASPCA commercial, and they're having like some kind of bleeding heart response to it where they feel protective, like their motherly instincts have kicked in and they need this game to suckle on their bosom to keep it safe. So they're getting mad at people that are saying the game is bad. Like, how could you? So many developers worked years on this project just for you to shit on it? Ridiculous. Have you no heart at all? And I just think that is so misguided and ridiculous. People have paid $70 for this. That is not a cheap game by any means. That is the highest level price that you can charge for a standard game. So you would expect the highest level quality product from it, which you do not get here. So it is entirely within people's rights to call it out for how lacking it is. It doesn't mean they hate everyone that worked on the game. I certainly don't. I just wish that the game wasn't so disappointingly bad. But there's nothing wrong with pointing out it is weak. It is a bad game. I hope that Arcane's next venture is a successful one. A lot of people are pretending that there's a lot of angry customers that are wiggling their fingers celebrating that the game is shitty, which I haven't seen. I don't know why anyone would celebrate a game being shitty after they've wasted $70 on it. I'm certainly not happy that I spent $70 on a stinker. I would have much preferred that it was a fun game that I really got into, but I didn't. Somewhere in the deep multiverse right now, there is a Charles White that is playing the fuck out of Redfall, and it's a Game of the Year contender because it was an amazing product. But that's not the reality we live in. We got a little Weenie Hut Jr. Happy Meal shovelware game with Redfall, and they charge 70 doubloons for it, which sucks. There's nothing wrong with people saying that it's bad. So stop labeling people with these harsh, mean labels because they insulted the game. I don't see a lot of celebration that the game is bad. That wouldn't make any sense. No one likes wasting money. So I just wanted to get that out of the way immediately because it ties into the bigger topic of the video, which is Phil Spencer himself, the head of Xbox, recently did an interview where he talked about his personal disappointment in Redfall and all of its shortcomings. It's a brutally honest and very interesting look into Xbox itself. So I want to dive into all of it because he gets into more than just Redfall. He gets into Xbox in general and how it's like really not even a competitor in the console wars, which was shocking to see him say that out loud because there's still so much copium from people that swear by Xbox, you know, consumer warriors that will fight tooth and nail for their favorite billion-dollar company. They still believe Xbox is a very worthwhile console, even though there's no real exclusives, no real reason to own it. I'm not here to really get into the weeds of it, but it's something Phil Spencer also recognizes. You know what, I will get into it real quick. Xbox has a laughable catalog of games. They have absorbed so many heavy hitters like Bethesda, but have nothing to show for it on Xbox that makes picking up the console worth it. There is no reason to own an Xbox, unless it's just what your friends are on already and you want to play with them. That's the only real reason. There's no other incentive to buy an Xbox, because the games go to PC anyway. Game Pass is an amazing deal, but no one's getting Game Pass for the first-party exclusives on Xbox or anything, because there are none. There's Halo Infinite, which was treading water for a long time and only just now starting to find its footing with some actual content, and that's about it. There's really nothing else on Xbox that would make it worthwhile other than just playing with your friends. It's a joke in the grand scheme of the console wars with Sony and the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch. But even the PlayStation 5 is lacking in exclusives. It's just... It was refreshing to see that even Phil Spencer sees this. Now anyway, let's jump in. So first and foremost, this article kind of sets the stage for Microsoft's blunders and their, rocky, rough patch that they're going through. They recently had their acquisition of Activision Blizzard blocked, which was a $68 billion acquisition, by the way. And there's also been a 30% drop in the Xbox hardware revenue, which honestly is a lot better than I thought. I figured that'd be like a fucking 50 to 60% drop, because no one that I've heard of recently is buying Xboxes, because again, there's not a real reason to. When asked about Redfall, he really does kind of just own up to all of it. And when I initially read it, my impression was that he kind of pushed it off onto Arcane Studios and less on like Microsoft itself. But when I really went back and watched the interview, the impression I get is that it was pretty somber. He truly does feel like there's a big weight on the shoulder of Microsoft to deliver quality, and they're missing the mark. So I no longer feel like he's trying to pass the blame off anywhere. It seems like he's just trying to take it all head on. So he said, there's nothing more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community, and just kind of watch the community lose confidence and be disappointed. Disappointed, I'm upset with myself. I kind of revisit our process. I think back to the announcement of 60 frames per second, then we weren't shipping 60 frames per second. That was our punch in the chin, rightfully, a couple weeks ago. This is him talking about how Redfall isn't even 60 frames on Xbox. Again, a fucking joke. But they are committed to getting it there eventually, though I think it's inexcusable to release the game knowing that it's not 60 frames or even at the most baseline quality you'd expect for $70. He then goes on to sing the praises of the studio behind Redfall, Arcane, which is a studio I also like, and their pedigree really does speak for itself. They've made banger after banger, and now they haven't. I also wasn't a huge fan of Deathloop either, but at least the game had ambition and it did have interesting ideas. I just don't think it was executed super well. But now, I think Redfall, there is no way of explaining anything about it that could have even been remotely construed as good or well put together. He also said something that I found particularly interesting. He said, "We do mock reviews for every game that we launch, and this is double digits lower than where we thought we would be with this game through those." That's one of the disappointing things. We would never strive to launch a game that we thought was going to review in the low 60s. It's not part of our goals. This game does not deserve to be in the low 60s. It shouldn't even be cracking the mid 40s. It is not a good game by any metric at all. The only reason why it even might be even flirting with the low 60s is because people feel so bad for it and are remembering the good old days of Arcane and don't want to accept that this is a bad game and there's nothing wrong with calling it out for being such. In fact, I would argue that it's actually healthier for the developers so they can see where to improve and what not to do again. But yeah, anyway, what I found interesting though is the mock reviews. What fucking benefit is there to doing mock reviews if the reviews come from internal teams? Obviously, they're not going to go hog wild and say everything, super bold. They're not going to be mean or aggressive with it, whereas in the gaming space, people aren't pulling punches. People are going to be brutally honest. So I really feel like mock reviews are kind of worthless. There's got to be a better system in place, and I think Phil does take notice of that. I think this has been a wake-up call for that whole process. But I just don't understand why they would have ever been under the impression that doing mock reviews with internal teams is somehow going to be helpful and a good metric of where reviews might end up in the real world. Because again, no one's going to be being that honest with their boss and their peers. No, it's just not going to happen. Everyone's going to try and sugarcoat things and be as gentle as possible, caress their cheeks a little bit, butter them up. They're not going to really give you the nitty-gritty, tough-to-swallow pills about the product. This next part is where things get very wild. So he said that we're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. He then goes on to elaborate saying, "I see the commentary that if you just build great games, everything will turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everybody built their digital library of games. We want our Xbox community to feel awesome, but this idea that if we just focused more on great games on our console, that somehow we're going to win the console race doesn't really land to the reality of most people. There's no world where Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5s. That's not going to happen. I overall disagree with his core statement here about even if they were making great games, the Xbox is still kind of left in the dust, saying that no one's going to sell their PS5 or Switch for an Xbox, which I think is a weird way of looking at it because you really shouldn't be trying to think of like stealing Sony fanboys or stealing Nintendo fanboys for Xbox. You can be a fan of Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox. Like, you could just be someone who enjoys good games, and each console offers good games. That would be the ideal circumstance. So if you did have great games, system sellers, I really do think people would go to it. So I disagree that great games wouldn't matter. At least that's the way I interpreted his statement. But he does talk about some important things as well. And it's also shocking to see that the head of Xbox, the fucking guy at Xbox, is just openly admitting defeat to Sony and Nintendo in the console wars, saying that they're not under any delusion about out-consoling Sony or Nintendo here. So just kind of surrendering there, which was odd to read. But Phil Spencer calls a very important attention to the last generation of consoles where Xbox was not even a player, not even in the conversation. People probably didn't even realize Xbox One existed because it was such a fucking piece of shit. Xbox One aimed to be more than a gaming console. It aimed to be an entire entertainment hub, but it failed on that front and also failed at being a gaming console. They completely just wiped their ass with the idea of having good games anymore and wanted to get a little bigger. Their gluttony, their eyes were bigger than their stomach. They tried to bite off a market share of something that they really shouldn't have tried touching, which was just general entertainment. They needed to focus on gaming, which is what made the Xbox 360 so special, because the 360 had an unbelievably stacked catalog of games. 360 fucking went wild with how many games and how many great games it offered, and then you went to the next generation, and the Xbox One had fucking nothing. Actually nothing. And the PlayStation 4 went really hard on getting these very strong titles for their platform. And of course, Nintendo always has incredible exclusives, so they also went hard, and Xbox floundered. And they completely lost that generation, and Phil Spencer recognizes the severity of that because it got people off of Xbox and made them Sony customers or Nintendo customers, and people just kind of forgot about Xbox even making games, and it was really hard to try and claw that back. So now, with the Series X and everything, they tried to make these big strides of acquiring so much talent in the gaming space, acquiring very well-respected studios, getting fucking Bethesda, of all things, under their umbrella to try and really pump up their catalog of games because they recognize what a disaster it was to abandon that. But they're playing catch-up and they're not really making ground right now. The best thing Xbox has done is Game Pass. But it's also not exclusive to Xbox because you can access it on PC as well, which is usually just a better experience, like in the case of Redfall. You get 60 FPS on PC, you don't get 60 FPS on Xbox. So why the fuck would you even use Game Pass on Xbox for something like that? You wouldn't. You'd use it on PC. So they're just having a really hard time of getting strong titles and making it a good catalog that makes people want to get the Xbox Series X. But Phil Spencer says that even if they did have an incredible catalog of games, no one's switching at this point, which I just wholeheartedly disagree with. I feel like if Xbox did have an incredibly stacked catalog like the 360 did, people would be more than open to checking out the Series X. They would be more than open to considering getting the Xbox and playing those games. That's just the way it works. No one is playing the Nintendo Switch for third-party games. No one's getting the Switch so that way they can play fucking Elden Ring or anything. It's not happening. The Switch can barely run mobile games. The reason people have the Switch is because their catalog of exclusives, their first-party games, are so good, so people get the Switch for that and nothing else. So if the Xbox had incredible games, just like the Switch does, that are exclusive to the Xbox, I don't see why people wouldn't get it for it. Again, I think the Switch is the perfect case study here. That is an outdated, archaic piece of hardware. It fucking sucks when it comes to its technical aspect. But no one cares because the games on it slap. The first-party games, rather, and nothing else, not third-party games. I would be shocked if anyone ever played a third-party game on the Switch on their own volition. They're only getting it for the first-party games. So if the Xbox, which does have great specs, if they had good games on there, I really don't see why people would just be like, ooh, yucky, I'm not getting an Xbox, even for those incredible games. I feel like they'd be more than willing to. So yeah, unfortunately, that's not where we're at right now. Xbox is just printing things that no one wants. Fucking Binky Moose Knuckles, Grand Adventure, Redfall. Like, no one's going to be getting an Xbox for any of that at all. It just becomes completely worthless. But if they turn it around and start making great games, I don't see why they couldn't at least make themselves less of a joke in the console wars or the general gaming space. So yeah, I just want to talk about this because I actually really appreciated Phil Spencer's honesty here with everything and how willing he was to be open with all of it, because I imagine as the head of Xbox, that's a really hard thing to just take on the chin. Just come as the fucking face of this company, which gets spit on a lot because it's not doing super hot against the other consoles or anything, and the games haven't been great. And just come forward and just be really open and honest with it. That takes a lot of guts. So I applaud him for that. I appreciate the insight, and I really am hoping for a turnaround for Xbox. I would love to dust mine off and have a reason to play it, but right now, I don't. But hopefully in the future there will be. So I just kind of wanted to go over all of this. That's about it. See ya. If history's taught us one thing, it's that gamers are the pride and joy of the human race. I feel like the only reason the Lord ever even made humans to begin with was so that we would eventually evolve to a point where we can finally reach our ultimate metamorphosis and become the turbo gamers we were destined to be. And my friends, it's with a smile on my face and butterflies in my tummy that I proudly announce that we are entering the golden age of gaming. We have arrived. Gamers can't stop winning. We eat good, fuck good, feel good, and when someone stands in our way, we say, listen, Buster, you noob, get out of town or I'm gonna have to level up on your ass. And that's exactly what just happened in court, basically, with the FTC. The FTC got the latest smackdown from gamers when they tried to block Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Those fools at the FTC, those bumbling, imbecile, homunculus morons, thought that they could walk all over our God-given right to game. Hard. And now, they're learning a tough lesson. Don't tussle with the virtual muscle, or you're gonna end up looking silly. The cyberspace is a circus, and now you're the clowns. Now, for those of you who have no fucking idea what I'm talking about, I'll briefly explain. Microsoft made an offer to buy Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. An offer Activision Blizzard couldn't resist. Like Mr. Krabs with the dollar signs in their eyes, they were pretty on board with the idea, so they began moving forward with the conversations, because $69 billion, that's a lot of doubloons. That's enough clams to make you slap your own mother. So they were going forward, going through with the process, but encountered quite a few obstacles along the way, the biggest one being the Federal Trade Commission blocking the acquisition. They were arguing that if Microsoft was to acquire all of the properties under Activision Blizzard, they would then have the means and motivation to harm competition and be very anti-competitive, because they could basically take something like Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox. This was a big talking point, actually, Call of Duty in particular, but Activision Blizzard has major heavy hitters in the video game space, and they were arguing that under Microsoft's control, they wouldn't really have incentive to release a quality product on rival consoles like Sony's PlayStation. So they were a bit concerned about, this being anti-competitive and maybe potentially even forming a monopoly down the line, so they motioned to block this acquisition. And this has been an ongoing battle for the last few months, and Microsoft's been making a lot of arguments about why it'd actually be the contrary. Should Microsoft get Activision Blizzard, they would actually enable more access to the properties, taking Call of Duty to a platform like even the Nintendo Switch. For all 6 people that would be delusional enough to buy a Call of Duty game on the Switch, because that'd be running at like 5 FPS. That fucking console can barely even handle mobile games. But there would be more access to it, according to Microsoft. And before the Switch gamers start fucking steaming out of their ears and slapping on the keyboard, I like the Switch. It's just a really embarrassing joke of hardware that can't really handle third-party modern games super well. Like Apex Legends on the Switch had to be the biggest joke the video game industry ever tried to pull. Nintendo Switch is good for just basically their first-party exclusives, so it is cool if Call of Duty does go to the Switch like this. Like, I mean, that's great. More access is always a good thing. But that would be like the worst way of playing this game, I imagine. Unless they release like the Switch 2.0. But regardless, Microsoft was arguing that if they do get Activision Blizzard, this would only actually help give people more means of playing these games on consoles. They wouldn't take anything away from rival consoles. And they've been making these arguments for quite a while now. And it seems to have worked because today, the judge ruled in favor of Microsoft. So they chose all of the correct dialogue options in order to get the Microsoft good, true ending, I suppose. According to the judge in this case, they stated that this court's responsibility in this case is narrow. It is to decide if, notwithstanding these current circumstances, the merger should be halted, perhaps even terminated, pending the resolution of the FTC administrative action. For the reasons explained, the court finds the FTC has not shown a likelihood that it will prevail on its claims this particular vertical merger in the specific industry may substantially lessen competition. To the contrary, the record evidence points to more consumer access to Call of Duty and other Activision content. The motion for a preliminary injunction is therefore denied. Fucking caps lock denied there. That's like some shit out of League of Legends. Judge was getting a bit toxic there, fucking locking that one down in caps. So the judge gave the thumbs down in the Coliseum here to the Federal Trade Commission's block on this Activision Blizzard play from Microsoft. They even just wiped their ass with an analysis from a Harvard economics professor who was arguing that they would have financial incentive to make Call of Duty an Xbox exclusive. And they said that this failed to take into account plans for the franchise to remain on PC, come to Switch, and be accessible through cloud gaming. Before the merger, a consumer wanting to play a Call of Duty console game had to buy a PlayStation or an Xbox. After the merger, consumers can utilize the cloud to play on the device of choice, including, it is intended, on the Nintendo Switch. Perhaps bad for Sony, but good for Call of Duty gamers and future gamers. I think they're actually right on the money with this one here. Before all of this hoopla here, if you wanted Call of Duty on the console, it was either Xbox or PlayStation. So I do understand the rationale behind if the Xbox manufacturer gets a hold of Call of Duty, if they grab the scrotum of Call of Duty, why would they even bother to continue putting it on Sony's PlayStation? You know, that's their competition. Like, I get where the thought process is coming from, but they fail to take into account that Microsoft itself already allows its exclusives to go to rival platforms, the PC. Microsoft itself, there's no such thing as a real Xbox exclusive anymore because all of their Xbox exclusives go to PC at the same time pretty much. So they kind of have already shown that they're okay letting their biggest titles go to other platforms. So I don't see why they'd think that it would be different here if they controlled the IP. Like, they would still benefit from it going to PlayStation, and they'd benefit from allowing even more access, like going to the Switch. And they've already allowed all of their exclusives right now to not be locked down to the Xbox because they already go to PC too. So I do think under Microsoft there is going to be more access to things like Call of Duty. This was a huge talking point in this case because Call of Duty is such a fucking power franchise. And I do think that they're correct that under Microsoft, I don't see it being exclusive to Xbox or anything. It'll probably just be more accessible. Sony, on the other hand, has shown many times in its past that it wants to have its cake and eat it too. It wants to be like your only option. I've already gone over this in previous videos, but there have been times in the past where Sony has legitimately tried to do anti-competitive practices because they have a very strong market share in the video gaming space. And they don't budge on fucking anything mostly. And I think Sony recognized this, which is why they'd be looking out for their own selfish interests to continue to have that stranglehold on the market share. They realized that under Microsoft, Activision Blizzard properties being more accessible hurts their position because now you no longer just have the choice of Xbox and PlayStation. Now Nintendo Switch could enter the conversation, cloud gaming where you could play on other devices as well. So Sony, I think, really only cares about itself, not like the good of the gaming space. So I overall do think it's a good thing here. I'm not exactly a Microsoft fan. I think pretty much every studio they touch turns to shit. And I really think the Xbox has nothing on it at all. It's just kind of a fucking brick. I have not got my Xbox out of this drawer in front of me in over a year and a half. And the only reason I brought it out a year and a half ago was to replay an old Xbox 360 game called Bayonetta. Love Bayonetta, by the way. So there's just, I think the Xbox Series X and all that is a fucking flop right now. that Phil Spencer recognizes that. He even had that statement not long ago about how they've completely lost the video game industry race right now. But I'm still optimistic for the future. Like, with this deal going through, should it go through, again, it's not a done deal. I do think having more access to titles is a good thing. So I'm always for that. Though I'm not super optimistic about the quality of titles coming forward because, like I said, Microsoft has like the fucking cheese touch here. They curse everything under their umbrella in the video game space, and every studio kind of goes tits up. Now, like I said, it's not a done deal. There still is another big block right now, and this one comes from the Competition and Markets Authority. This is in the UK. So the CMA also blocked the deal in April, argued that it would hamper growth in cloud gaming. But it seems like this is starting to weaken a little bit, like they're starting to be more open to proposals from Microsoft. So it feels like that's only a matter of time before that's no longer an obstacle for this acquisition. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to give you this update because this is a very big deal in gaming. This is by far the biggest fucking deal like ever done in gaming. Probably just one of like the biggest purchases in general. A $69 billion buy here is fucking massive. And Activision Blizzard has some huge properties, so there is a lot of potential ramifications for the future of gaming. Could be good. I imagine it probably will be good, but it also could be bad. There's really no telling right now. So I just wanted to give you a little update on everything that's been going on here, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah. The gaming space is in a pretty weird spot right now with so many bad decisions happening so quickly. It's just leading to this avalanche of garbage. Like, I don't think Mr. Magoo could make as many horrible decisions as these video game executives have been recently. We just saw it with Escape from Tarkov doing their best Voltorb impression and using self-destruct on their entire company and game by being overcome with greed and leading to the absolute destruction of their product that they had built up over the course of years and ruined the trust of the community. And then immediately after that, Sony decided to do something even stupider by activating the Orb of Confusion and trying to find a way to ruin one of the most successful games in recent memory with Helldivers 2. They went full-blown like Brain Offenheimer, now I am become Death, destroyer of games, and made a greedy decision that nearly ruined Helldivers, and then they had to break out the ukulele for their public apology press tour here. It's like they got offended that someone did a worse job than them, so they found a way of one-upping it. And then from out of nowhere, sneaking in from the shadows, we have the dumb assholes at Xbox going, wait a minute guys, check this one out. And then made a clown of themselves, like fucking fools, publicly eating shit, making terrible decisions. It's like a Royal Rumble, where more and more AAA industry companies keep coming forward and make decisions that beg the community to throw pies and tomatoes at their faces. Yesterday they announced there'd be some closures coming to some studios under the Microsoft umbrella. Arcane Austin, Alpha Dog Studios, Tango Gameworks, and Roundhouse Games were banished to the Shadow Realm. And that means that Xbox has now closed more studios than it's released games this year. That is an embarrassing statistic. They are more likely to close a studio than they are to release a game at the moment. That's fucking shocking. By far, the biggest criticism that Xbox has faced over the last decade is their lack of games. In the Xbox 360 era, they were kings, pumping out some bangers, absolute timeless masterpieces. And these puppies were popping fresh out of the oven days or months after each other, which is unheard of in the current landscape of things. Crobcat has a great video on the golden era of the 360, and the iconic games that were coming out quickly. It was like they're playing on a fucking Minecraft private server where you couldn't stop hitting diamonds. Like, every block was diamonds back then. And now look at it. It's such a fall off. The Xbox exclusive release schedule looks more empty than that room Squidward went to be all alone. It's sad to see it in that state. They just don't make many games anymore. They are by far the worst out of all the major players. And it's not even really close. They do still have some exclusives that come out, but it's very seldom. So, anyway, the fact that they're closing studios is a big, alarming red flag for a lot of gamers because they're just struggling, clearly struggling. Not just them, the whole industry is, but Xbox in particular just cannot get it together. When they do, by some miraculous divine intervention, release a game, an exclusive, they haven't been that good. Like Redfall. Redfall became the joke of gaming last year. And speaking of Redfall, that gets to one of the studio closures, which is Arcane Austin, the studio responsible for that blemish, that absolute festering wound on the AAA gaming space. They shut down that studio because that game flopped so hard for them. They didn't even give them a second chance. And keep in mind, Arcane Austin didn't want to make the Redfall that we received. That was put upon them from everything I've seen. All of the evidence points to them working on that game because they were forced to. And that brings us to what has by far been the scariest studio closure, which was the shutdown of Tango Gameworks, which is the studio behind Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is by far Xbox's most positively reviewed game in years. It was a darling. It was a game that everyone appreciated, everyone had nothing but praise for, and absolutely one of those games where people were like, Xbox might be back. Finally, a good game. Finally, an exclusive that's not dog shit. And then they shut down the studio that made it. It was reviewed tremendously. Everyone loved it. And they still shut the studio down. They took it behind the barn and put a bullet in its head. There's a quote in that article that says we couldn't be happier with it. Like, they were pleased with its performance. But I guess it just wasn't enough. And a lot of people are blaming Game Pass. Game Pass is a really good deal for gamers. I've said that since the very beginning, since the genesis of Game Pass. That shit slaps. It is crazy value. That'd make your fucking head spin. And I always said, I don't know how it's profitable for them. And I don't think it is. I actually am starting to get behind those tinfoil condom conspiracy theories that Game Pass is actually ruining some of the game studios because their games are getting put on Game Pass, thus people aren't paying full price for them or anything, and it's making their sales numbers look weaker because why would you pay full price for Hi-Fi Rush if you could just sign up for Game Pass and have access to it for free, basically, right? Like, it's one of those things that doesn't reflect great on the sales numbers of the games that are on there. And I really think that this is great proof of that. A lot of people played Hi-Fi Rush. This was a game that was being streamed out the wazoo from what I recall. Everyone was talking about it for a while. It was the hot button topic of conversations that Xbox has finally delivered something great for the first time in a long time. And now fast forward to today where they're shutting the studio down. So the performance, like, financially must not have been that great, which is surprising. So it's either because of Game Pass or because of how inflated the costs are for producing games in the modern age. This shit is gluttonous when it comes to eating money. This is something I've talked about over the last couple of years, but games are so expensive to make now, it takes years in certain cases to deliver a game. That is a long time to be paying for a game to be produced, and that's not even counting in the marketing budget and the amount of spending that goes into that. So it's not enough for a game to just be really good and sell pretty well. It needs to sell extraordinarily well or have some built-in lifeline monetization where you can continue to make money off it long term, so it's not relying on just the initial sale of the game. You bake in these monetization schemes that can continue to tap into people's piggy banks and milk their titties dry for their allowance as you give them these cosmetics and loot boxes or whatever you're putting in there. So that way you can try and make that money down the line and turn a profit. Because it is so hard to break even on games right now, you'd need to move millions in a lot of cases. To have a profitable game in the AAA space, you have to outsell the Bible, basically. It's not easy. And it's leading to so many problems in the industry, which is why they seem so desperate to find new greedy ways of monetizing it. It is in a terrible place, which is why indie games are flourishing. Indie games are picking up the slack and they're crushing it. Indie games right now are the best games on the market. Now, this Bloomberg article has more information here. This is from Jason Schreier and Dana Bass, who worked together to dig into the details of what's going on there. Executives felt stretched too thin trying to manage every team. The studios had just released games and needed to staff up to be able to start work on new ones, and more cuts will occur at an individual level with staff offered severance packages within Bethesda proper. As far as studio shutdowns go, Booty said that the company's studios had been spread too thin like peanut butter on bread, and that leaders across the division had felt understaffed. They decided to close these studios to free up resources elsewhere. Now, Booty is referring to Matt Booty, who's been in charge of Xbox Game Studio for a while, and his name is so fitting for this situation because this is just ass. This Booty can't stop shitting the bed at Xbox right now. And Mr. Booty goes on to add that Redfall's failures were not the reason as to why the studio was shut down, which is a whole load of horseradish. That is just a lie. He is just telling a fib right there. It was intimated with Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and Alpha Dog all just having put games out that it was tied to timing more than results. Tango had just put out the critically acclaimed Hi-Fi Rush and Ghostwire Tokyo titles. Arcane Austin put out the aforementioned Redfall, and Alpha Dog had released Mighty Doom. Roundhouse had been working as a support studio and will be absorbed into ZeniMax Online to work on their projects instead of being closed. Which is still basically closing that studio in my opinion, but I guess not technically. But anyway, these closures come less than 6 months after Microsoft laid off 1,900 Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox employees, and just months after Sony closed some of its own game studios and laid off around 900 employees. So these layoffs are just happening at an alarming rate with all this turmoil in the gaming space. And then I saw this headline that popped up today from The Verge. Microsoft says it needs games like Hi-Fi Rush the day after killing its studio. So the goofball Matt Booty came forward wearing the dunce cap and said in a town hall discussion, "We need smaller games that give us prestige and awards." Brother, you are dancing on the grave of one of the studios that delivered just that. Hi-Fi Rush was a small game. It was critically acclaimed. Everyone loved it. It won awards. Like, it was exactly what you were describing. You just buried them 24 hours ago, and now in your post-mortem, post-nut clarity, you're scratching your chin. We need some smaller, less expensive titles that can be extremely good and really punch above their weight class, winning awards, being very prestigious. Let's try that approach. That's something we haven't tried before. I could be a pioneer, a trailblazer with this approach. Like, it's a no fucking wonder Xbox is so disheveled and all over the place and can't get their act together. Matt Booty is suffering from amnesia. Like how in the world could you make this statement after you just shut down the studio that did exactly what you described? AAA gaming is such a mess. It is a disaster, and I think it's only going to continue to get worse. There are rumors, of course, of more layoffs coming at Microsoft and more studio closures perhaps down the road. I wouldn't be surprised. I also do think we're going to see more on Sony's side with them having more layoffs and all that, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It's just too unsustainable at the moment with these big budget AAA studios right now and the publishers behind them making awful decisions for them down the road. So, yeah, just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's it. So, yeah. I'm sure all of you can tell that I've been trying to grow an extra half an inch taller by the end of 2025 by eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and glass of milk every day. I'm also sure you can all tell that I'm not the biggest fan of the way Microsoft handles some of its IP. I think they sit upon a gold mine and refuse to do anything with it. They just slumber on top of all of this treasure like smog. And it's really upsetting. And that's only been further cemented by the recent story that came out about how Microsoft turned down a Halo and Doom crossover for the secret level show. To me, this is a huge missed opportunity and snatching defeat from the jaws of victory for absolutely no reason here. There is only positives for Microsoft in this scenario. Secret Level just dropped recently and it was very successful. It's even getting another season. And it was a celebration of video games from the Love, Death, and Robots team. It's an anthology series where they take video games and make breathtaking animated shorts for them. My favorite was, of course, the Warhammer 40k episode because, as all of you can probably sniff out, I've taken a huge plunge into the 40k universe, and I thought that that short was fucking extraordinary. I only wish it was longer. And that's really the main criticism people have for the show, is that some of them feel really short, so it's hard to get really invested, but they're all very well done. And it seems like a labor of love, like the teams that put them together at the very least knew the property and wanted to do something special for it. So even something like Pac-Man, which has no real story, they made an episode for in Secret Level and they gave it like a dark, gritty sci-fi universe that was so wacky and weird that it was captivating. Another good episode was the Dungeons and Dragons episode. Like, there were some bangers in there. And they just had a lot of beloved video game IP that they made shorts for, and they even had dog shit IP in there they made shorts for, like Concord, a game that has been buried in a shallow grave and pissed upon by everyone with a bladder. Still don't know how that pitiful stain got a spot in Secret Level. There must have been some very big cash transactions in there in order to secure its spot. But guess what? The episode came out, and it's not very good. It's definitely one of the weaker episodes of the entire series. There's only so much you can do when you're working with legitimate garbage. But anyway, back to Microsoft. It just came out in an interview that Microsoft was approached by the team about doing a Halo and Doom crossover episode for Secret Level as just a really hype love letter. And Microsoft replied, nah.
And still not run out of games that we like.
I would like the big one that I like. Creative director at id is a good friend of ours, and and so is folks at Microsoft. So we made a big plea, because one of the things both Tim and I would love to do is do something that isn't currently available in the games, like crossovers. Like we wanted to make a Master Chief Doomslayer like crossover episode, and it like I spent a whole weekend crafting this impassioned letter of my childhood, and it's exactly what Tim said. They were like, no,
and of course we begged for Half-Life, and of course we,
Half-Life being shot down doesn't surprise me, because Valve would rather see their company burn to the ground than have to make anything in regards to Half-Life 3. And had there been a Half-Life episode, there would have once again been that reignited hope that maybe we'll see a Half-Life 3. Somehow, that copium ran rampant when the Game Awards broadcast last month, with people saying they're going to announce Half-Life 3. And then, of course, any sensible person with a functioning frontal lobe knew that wasn't coming, and then it didn't come. So now that hype died down once again. However, if there was also a secret level episode for Half-Life, people would be ravenous, scratching at their neck again, and Valve would have to once again disappoint them by reminding them it's just not going to happen. So I'm not surprised Half-Life was turned down, but I am beyond surprised that Microsoft said no to a Halo Doom crossover, with how down in the dumps Halo as an IP has been for a decade. Halo used to be a juggernaut. I have bitched and moaned, whined out the wazoo about the tragic fall-off of Halo since being passed to 343, and it's no secret, it's not in like the mainstream consciousness anymore. People don't talk about Halo. It's not very popular anymore. It still has a community, of course it does, but it is a shell of its former self, and it is not a game that gets a lot of big attention outside of its own community. This was an opportunity to put Master Chief back in the forefront, to remind people how good that character is and how much potential there still is for the IP, and you pair him with someone like Doomslayer, it's just a slam dunk. That whole concept of crossovers is something that has been a successful formula not for movies, obviously. There's been a lot of terrible crossover movies, but for shorts, it has been a really well received thing for years. Like, one of the early viral videos from YouTube was actually Haloid from one of the greatest animators of our generation, Monty. Many of you probably remember Haloid fondly. And that was a crossover of Master Chief and Samus. Like, that crossover of Doomslayer and Master Chief, with the quality that Secret Life was delivering, that would finally be something hype for the Halo IP. There hasn't been something to get excited about for Halo in a long time. There just hasn't. The most exciting thing they announced is that they're shutting down 343. Like, that's the best news Halo's gotten in a decade, that they're moving on from 343 and becoming Halo Studios, like a fresh start. Take a moment, let that sink in, marinate in it. That is pathetic. That is so sad that Halo's best announcement in years is that the company behind Halo in the last decade is being thrown into the shitter. Like, come on, this could have just been a freebie. It's just such a layup. It's unbelievable that they would pass on it. It makes no sense. There's no negatives, because it's not like it's, bad for the Halo brand image, because that's non-existent right now. And it's not like they have anything that competes with it. The Halo show's finished, thank God, because that was a tragedy. I guess it is possible that Microsoft is so delusional that they're very proud of that show and think that that's like the gold standard of quality they want for the Halo IP. Like, this is the best Master Chief can ever be, by constantly flexing his butt cheeks at us on screen. Master Cheeks, like, this is the best they can do. Why would we ever dabble with something like animated Master Chief and Doomslayer? Oh, that's below us. We've got this Paramount Plus Halo show that nobody likes. That's the good stuff. Oh, come on. It's so stupid. Again, there hasn't been anything like any good news from Halo in so long. The best news Halo gets is when leaks come out with the 90 gigabytes of information from older Halo titles. Like, recently they had that 90 gigabyte leak that had the third person Halo from like way back in the day when it was still like in pre-beta or whatever it was. I can't even remember what all the leaks covered. But the best thing Halo gets is reminiscing about how good Halo used to be and old files being brought back to life so we can play the good Halos in a new way. Modern Halo is just, it's not hitting. It's just big time shitting. This could have been your way of saying, it's time Halo is cool again. So here's Master Chief with Doomslayer. Everyone loves Doom because Doom and Doom Eternal have been incredible. And there's a new Doom right around the corner, which, by the way, Microsoft owns both Doom and Halo. I think maybe people don't remember that. They own both of these. This was just so free for them to get some great PR here and have a lot of hype going into Doom Dark Ages, which comes out this year. That could have got people really excited. And yet they still just said no. There is nothing negative that could come from them agreeing to let Secret Level do a Master Chief Doom crossover. The only argument I've seen, and it was from one person in chat when I was going over this the other night that's sticking with me because I found it to be just so outrageous, was that they think it's a bad idea because it should just be full episodes for Halo and Doom. Yeah, I mean, sure, that'd be great, but instead of that, we got nothing. We could have had Master Chief and Doom, and then in Season 2, maybe they each get their own standalone episode. You can have your cake and fuck it too. Like, it wasn't mutually exclusive. It's not like by turning down the crossover, now all of a sudden they're going to get their own full episodes for Master Chief and Doomslayer. I don't know what fantasy that's coming from. You could have just said yes to this, and then also, maybe it performs so well for Secret Level that they absolutely guarantee more Halo and Doom for Secret Level in Season 2. Whereas now, Microsoft just shut that shit down with an iron fist. Probably won't see them in Season 2 would be my guess. Microsoft just does not seem interested in playing ball here. They really think they know best, and the best thing Microsoft knows how to do is nothing. They own everything and do nothing with it. It's craziness to me. It's absolute insanity. But this goes a step beyond that. This isn't doing nothing. This is actively going out of their way to self-sabotage their property, actively being a hindrance to their property being more popular and having more hype behind it. Like, they are actively shutting down opportunities that are good for it. It's just sad. It's not like this required some huge lift from Microsoft where they need to put tens of millions of dollars into the production of this. All they had to do was say, yes. That's it. As far as I know, it's not like Microsoft is going to have to pay them for it or anything like that. This was them wanting to work with these two properties because they're such big fans of it. They wrote this giant letter pleading with them to let them use this and make a really cool crossover episode. It's not like this was something that had a huge ask from Microsoft, and yet they still just said no. They are just so allergic to fun. They are anti-fun. It's like Plankton needing to be taught what fun is by SpongeBob, but Microsoft refuses to learn. It's just so pathetic. So yeah, I just wanted to rant about that a little bit. Was thinking about it again today. That's it. See ya. That's what it would look like if I was reading this news for the first time about the Microsoft price increases. But I read it earlier and I already got all my frustration out of the way privately, screaming into a pillow. This isn't some make-believe fish paste, a little video game industry boogeyman here with some false reports. This is confirmed that Microsoft will be increasing all of their prices across the board on hardware as well as accessories. And most notably, they are increasing the price on their Xbox first-party games to $80. Following in line with what Nintendo's doing with some of their games. Now, you may notice if you've got some keen peepers on you, I'm not in my normal domain. I'm in a hotel room. I'm in hiding because I knew I'd need to escape because I'm about to criticize Nintendo again while talking about Microsoft, and Nintendo fans don't like that. So we gotta play it safe here. Nintendo, I think, has set the trend here. They've broken the seal that $80 games will be accepted by people. And by people, I mean gamers, which is a different kind of person because they will accept any kind of shit you feed them at any price point, it seems. And now, since that case has been made, with the Switch 2 making record-breaking pre-orders apparently, Microsoft feels confident that they can do the same and they'll follow suit, and I imagine other big boys in the gaming industry will also do the same because being able to put the squeeze on gamers' piggy bank a little bit stronger is good for the bottom line. And since a lot of people are defending the $80 price tag, gaming companies are going to go in that direction, and thus it'll most likely be the new norm. But I am surprised it's happening this quick. I thought there'd still be more of a buffer before other big gaming industry giants jumped on board the $80 price tag. Now, of course, Nintendo's not solely to blame here. A lot of it will obviously fall on the uncertainty with tariffs and all of that. That's absolutely a factor here, no doubt. And obviously it's something a lot of people are unhappy about. Except for the mindless drones who do free PR for multi-billion-dollar gaming corporations fighting their battles day and night on Twitter in the trenches to defend their honor, just so they can continue to be exploited for their piggy bank. So anyway, it's been a lot of talk on this subject throughout the day. Everyone is, weighing in, and it's been a big discussion, but there's been a surprising lack of coverage and a lack of discussion around my hot ass and this fucking fart I'm about to shit out. I don't know if the webcam mic could pick that up, but that was American made. That's tariff-free right there, I'll promise you that. The point is, though, $80 games sucks. And it's not like the price tag is indicative of a quality increase across the board, because in a lot of cases, the main formula these gaming companies look to exploit is live service. So you're paying $80 for oftentimes games that are incomplete and are only tended to after you've paid the $80, and then they'll go in and try and make it better down the line. So you're paying more money for a less complete project in a lot of cases. Of course, that's not an absolute statement. That's not a blanket across the board. But in general, we've seen this a lot in recent years where the idea is push it out now, let's make money now, we'll fix it later. And I really cannot understand how anyone could see the state that gaming is in right now and be like, yeah, it makes sense. I'll pay $80 for these games that keep coming out that are fucking broken on launch, missing half of the content that they've promised. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, that is pathetic. Like, no one should be happy about the direction of $80 games coming up right now. Anyway, though, I'd like to read you their pricing update that they just posted. As of May 1st, we have adjusted recommended retailer pricing for our consoles and controllers worldwide. We also expect to adjust the pricing of some of our new first-party games starting this holiday season to $79.99. Those titles purchased on the Xbox Store have the benefit of Xbox Play Anywhere, allowing players to buy once and play on console and PC at no additional cost. We understand that these changes are challenging, and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play more games across any screen and ensuring value for Xbox players. The rising cost of development is something I've talked about a lot, how every game costs like $100 million now and like 6 years of development just baking it in the oven only to come out and be just underwhelming. That is 100% on them. It's not like the industry norm. There are so many indie games that have proven you don't need $100 million budgets to deliver extraordinary experiences. It's just these suits, these fucking corpo zombies at the top of the food chain that are so delusional. They're seeing Hollywood investing $320 million in the fucking stinkerooskies like Electric State and then being like, we need to do that for video games. So that's been the direction they've gone for the last almost 10 years now. But I have said very loudly for a long time, the actual future of AAA gaming is by doing smaller projects that require less time to develop and less money and smaller teams. That to me, I feel like that's a no-brainer. Like, there are so many examples in recent years you can pull from of small teams or even one-man teams delivering game of the year like quality experiences. You don't need to be dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the next Concorde. Like, it's just a stupid path, but they keep talking about it like it's an inevitability, how development cost has to continue rising, and every studio needs 500 developers all working on Assassin's Creed Shadows 2. Like, it's just super unnecessary. It is so much bloat for no reason. Instead, just put your money where your ass is and just invest in good projects that don't need to be like a super grand slam to make a single oodle of money back on the investment. Like, just think about how much a game has to sell in order to be profitable in the AAA space right now. Even if you do have a game that does really well, it's a good chance it doesn't make any money back because you've put so much money into it over the course of so many years that it'd need to sell like a fucking $1 billion worth of revenue in order to see it go green even slightly. Whereas if you had a bunch of smaller projects that don't need to be these crazy miracle home runs to make money, you stand a chance. Like, I really think the Blumhouse model, this is the one I always mention, where Blumhouse finances like fucking 100 horror movies a year that all cost like $2 to $5 million, and you probably haven't even heard of half of these absolute turbo shitters, but They only need to make like $10 million, $15 million to be like a super success for the company. And they always do. It's very rare that a Blumhouse film doesn't make more than the budget because it's so cheap to produce and it doesn't take that long. So it's a model that is proven efficient and works. And there are so many games that prove that model works too. But AAA is just so hell-bent on just dumping as much infinite money as they can into like one or two projects over the course of so many years, and they just end up being like super safe, Weenie Hut Jr., uninteresting, and even if they do moderately well, it's not good enough because it needs to do extraordinarily well to make any money back because too much went into that fucking pit producing it. And it's only going to get worse now at $80 being the norm because more and more people are getting priced out of buying AAA games. So what's going to happen naturally, more and more people are going to start pirating the games. But anyway, I'm rambling about things I've talked about a lot already. It's just, this is something a lot of people saw coming with $80 being the new norm once that floodgate was opened. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, so it sucks to see. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to rant about it a little bit here. That's about it, so yeah. I used to love Xbox, man. What happened to the game I used to love? What it has become is just embarrassing. Every step of the way, they're finding new lows to hit. Today, Xbox has announced a Game Pass change, and it's a doozy. Try a 50% price increase to the Game Pass Ultimate tier. Yeah, and it is revolting. It's going about as well as me in a dunk competition. They have increased the price to $30 a month for the Ultimate tier, and the two previous tiers for Essential and Premium are just not worth it. The Ultimate tier is the only one that lets you get the games day one, and for a large number of people, that was one of the main draws of the service here. And even though the Xbox catalog has been like a fucking Magikarp over the last few years, just extremely weak, the value you got out of Game Pass at the previous price point made up for it. Like, it was worth it, and it's something that I glazed quite a bit. But now, at this price point, the fuck is the point in keeping it anymore? It's just not worth it, and a lot of people are now canceling their subscription to Game Pass in response to these price increases. It's just L after L for Xbox. Like, even just recently, they farted out a new price increase for the consoles in a time period where Xboxes are like fucking fossils. Like, you can't give those bitches away sometimes. It's a console that doesn't have a whole lot of reasons to buy it unless your friends are already on it, but chances are your friends have already moved past it. Because being an Xbox fan in 2025 is like being a fidget spinner enthusiast. It's just not cool. It's lame. Like, it is so far past its prime now, and it brings me no joy saying that, by the way. As I have always proudly stated, Xbox and Xbox 360 have been my favorite gaming experiences. Those two consoles, I think, are the most important pieces of, like, gaming hardware ever made. But once the Xbox One came out, that's when it all went tits up, and it is not recovered. You hate to see what Xbox has become. And anytime I talk about Xbox or like criticize a lot of the decisions they made over the years, somehow there is still like this last holdout of warriors willing to fight Xbox's PR battles for them, even though the general Phil Spencer himself constantly throws himself pity parties on every podcast that will have him about how they've lost the console wars. Like, he himself recognizes how far behind Xbox has fallen and how brutal it's been for them. And it just somehow keeps getting worse, even though they have this, like, come to Jesus moment of, man, we really put our own dick in our ass here. They don't do anything to course correct. Like, they did a good decision a little while back that I praised a lot, where they dropped exclusivity. I think that is the brightest path forward for the industry, where every title hits every platform, so consumers have their pick of playing it on their preferred platform. And Xbox was kind of pushing that, and I appreciated it. But for every one step forward they've taken 20 steps back, and today it has been a catastrophic disaster for them, because now they're fucking their golden goose. They even posted a delusional video celebrating these Game Pass changes as if it's something that the community was asking for. It's so out of touch and tone deaf. Just take a peek at this.
Hey everyone, Xbox Game Pass is getting an upgrade. We've listened to your feedback, and now you have even more freedom to choose how you play the games you want. We've expanded all Xbox Game Pass plans to give you more games and more ways to play and more rewards than ever. Previously, Core was primarily for console, but Essential now lets you play games on Xbox console, PC, and cloud. That means you have the freedom to stream and play on any supported device. And with cloud gaming, that includes a lot of devices.
So she goes through each tier with the upgrades that have been introduced, the improvements that they've augmented all of this with. And I'm just not fucking seeing it. Like, it really just seems like you get the same deal, but with more money needed to be forked over to achieve it. Like, the big thing that stands out to me is that they're putting more of a focus on, PC gaming. So instead of it being all about console, now you get more freedom to play on PC and like the cloud stuff. But for people that are like Xbox heads, they don't give a fuck about that. Like, they're not getting a much better deal. They're just having to pay more money for the deal. Like, it just doesn't seem worth it. And judging from the response from the community, almost nobody is defending it. I don't think there's anyone out there that actually thinks this is them listening to community feedback, because you need to pay $30 a month in order to like play Call of Duty Black Ops 7 on launch. Why would you do that? Why would you be paying $30 a month to then get access to a game day one? It's so fucking expensive. At that point, you might as well just buy the game that you're interested in, as opposed to having this like ongoing expensive subscription to Game Pass Ultimate for it. It's just not worth it. The value is not there. It does seem like it is now just a price increase without offering any real reason or justification to fork over those doubloons for it. What the fuck is the point? I don't know where the spin is coming that they're trying to put on it. Like, this is what you guys been asking for. Everyone's been begging to give us more money. All of you are asking to pay more for Game Pass, and we said, fine. Guess our hands are tied. We're reluctant to do this, but we're going to increase the price by 50% per your feedback. It's what you guys were demanding, so we're just serving you the meal you ordered from the menu. Like, who's asking for that? Like, I don't know where it's coming from. And again, the things that they're talking about in the tier, like the tiers that they're introducing, it feels like it's mainly just PC cloud related stuff that I don't think the console players were really begging for in a big way, especially if it leads to a price increase.
The best thing about Ultimate is that you can play new games on day one. That includes games like Call of Duty Black Ops 7, The Outer Worlds 2, and High on Life 2. But now, the best is getting even better. Ultimate subscribers will get access to over 75 day one games a year. We're also adding 2 new partner subscriptions. With Ultimate, you'll now have access to Ubisoft Plus Classics in addition to EA Play.
Wait, maybe I was a little hasty. Hold the fucking phone here. You get access to Ubisoft Classics? Oh my god, that's what I've always wanted. Access to Ubisoft Classics. Ubisoft! Yes! Oh, I can't wait to be paying $30 a month. Whee! And of course, EA Play. Who can understate the value of EA Play there? This is so silly. And I was really curious if they were going to mention the price increases in this video here, because it's so pivotal. Like, this is a really big deal. It's not like some trivial increase of like, 50 cents. It's 50%. They have raised it from $20 to $30, and they don't make a peep. They don't mention it in this video at all. They tried to save that cold water outside of the hype of this announcement, which I think is a little scummy. I don't really like that. You should talk about the price changes too. You talked about everything else, like the name changes, which feel totally unnecessary, but that's just like corporate America where names change all the time for the most minuscule of reasons. But come on, you're not going to mention the price here? There's just nothing in this that screams value, that screams that this is worth it now. Previously, at the old price points of Game Pass, I thought it was a good deal. I really did think that they had a good service that they were offering at that price point. At this, I don't see who the fuck would ever be able to like rationalize spending that kind of money for what you get out of it. It doesn't make sense to me. And what also doesn't make sense to me is how Microsoft thought that this was a good idea. Like, I recognize that they're not, doing amazing, but I mean, come on, like, just look at 2025 for Microsoft. It has been rough. And they've already increased prices on like console and everything, and now this. Like, they had to know this was going to be a big fucking miss here. I just, like, I don't get it. It's crazy to me. Anyway, though, I just wanted to yap about this a bit. I really, and I don't mean this exaggeratory, I really don't know how much longer Xbox is even going to be around before they just pull the plug on it. It just seems like it's in such a disastrous state. They have so many things under their umbrella, but yet have so little to show for it. And their one like really good saving grace here with Game Pass is just getting ruined. It is going straight in the dumpster. It's already there. Like, this is a dagger in Game Pass for a large number of people. Like, it's not blown out of proportion with the amount of people canceling their subscription. It really does seem to be that bad. Anyway, though, I won't yap about it any longer. That's really about it. See ya. In gaming, there is no community more accustomed to bad news than the Halo community. Halo and bad news goes together like french fries and ketchup. It's basically all you ever get from Halo is more doom and gloom that just puts a big frown on your face. And it is just so sad to see. And just when you think that it has hit rock bottom and can't get worse for the franchise, they always find new lows. Most recently with their potential big investment into Gen AI for the upcoming Halo titles, which we'll dive into in a moment. But for over a decade now, Halo has been in such a sorry state for what was once a juggernaut in the gaming space, an absolute trailblazer, a powerful IP that the world knew and respected. Halo has been reduced to just kind of like a sad queef and like an afterthought in the modern day and age. The only time you hear Halo brought up nowadays is when there's new information like this about Gen AI and how it's going to be crucial to upcoming Halo titles, and people shooting spitballs at it and making a mockery of the 343 Halo decade that we've been unfortunately subjected to. Even when they do have a win, like Halo Infinite's multiplayer on launch, a lot of people, myself included, really enjoyed the Infinite multiplayer. The problem was they released it in such a bare-bones state and didn't tend to it for about 2 years. So you could spend like 3 weeks grinding it and you basically finish everything Halo Infinite's multiplayer had to offer, and they didn't add anything or update it for 2 years, and they couldn't deliver on any of their promises. Like with Forge coming out in that time, it took them so long for Forge, and even just the most basic features. They never even followed through on like split screen, for example, because it was too hard and confusing or whatever. It's such wasted potential because they did have that good start. People were finally like kind of pumping their fist. Oh, Halo might be back. This is really enjoyable. And they couldn't translate that into momentum because I guess they just all of a sudden took like a 2-year break at the office. They said, all right, job's done. Time's up. Time to clock out and go home and do nothing for the next 2 years. And obviously people kind of got bored of it when there was still nothing being added to it. It was the same thing every time. So even though now in its current state, it's much better. And from a competitive standpoint, it's amazing. Not to suck our own dicks again, but our esports team, Shopify Rebellion, we are literally the Halo World Champions. We just won the World Championship, which is the final HCS World Championship. And it was incredibly hyped to watch this entire season. But it took so long for Halo Infinite to get to this point that most casual players have already checked out and didn't ever come back to the game because it just too little too late in their eyes. And the gaming industry is moving so fast with so many games coming out, most people aren't willing to give a second chance to a game that they dropped 2 years ago under the potential idea that maybe it's better than it was then. They added more to it. So the casual audience doesn't stand behind Halo. The competitive scene may be great, but it's just they weren't able to once again have people believe in Halo. And now there's so little confidence in the 343 team, they rebranded to Halo Studios to try and, start fresh, going to a new engine with Unreal 5, abandoning their $500 million investment in the Slipspace engine that crashed and burned for them. And even with this new rebrand and everything under Halo Studios, they still find a way to squeeze defeat from the jaws of victory. Their strategy, based on all available evidence, is to remake their remakes. So they've already confirmed a Halo CE remake, which is now the second remake. This is worse than fucking Skyrim re-releasing 1,000 times for every digital alarm clock and smart fridge on the planet. They remade Halo CE a while ago, and now they are remaking that remake coming up in 2026, but without multiplayer. So it's just a worse remake. Yes, it's on a new engine and everything, and it's like a big overhaul and everything, but what the fuck is the point? You've already remade it once, and it's so misguided. And they are also now allegedly going to remake the Halo 2, which has already been, having a remake of its own. And they are going to be remaking Halo 3, which is the first remake there. But they're not doing new Halo. Their strategy seems to be, hey, remember our good Halos? We're doing it again. That's just a very sorry approach, and it's hard for me as a huge fan of Halo to get hyped. And make no mistake, I have been a gigantic fan of Halo my whole entire fucking life. I got Xbox Live when I was 10 years old to play Halo 2 online. I love this franchise, and I hate what's happened to it. I've even been doing a Legendary Marathon, again, which I've already done on stream, for my gaming channel, and I love it. Revisiting them, they still hold up so well. They're timeless classics, but I don't want to just see them constantly just like fucking like revived from the grave like necromancy and with a new, coat of paint on it, new makeup. What the fuck is the point? Just try and make good Halos again. It's just so sad. And I know they have like an unannounced Halo multiplayer title apparently that they're working on. We don't have any info there, but we do also have info on is apparently their big investment into using AI as a crucial component to developing their upcoming Halo games, which again is a huge fucking L. It's such a shame. I was yapping about it on stream. I'm going to play those clips for you real quick, and then I'll come back in and talk more about it, because it just hurts a lot. Again, I fucking love Halo. Like, this is a certified LeBron scream if you love Halo moment. Ah! Like, it is such an incredible, near and dear to my boners franchise that has fallen on hard times for well over a decade now. It's so sad. You see, Halo Studios might be going all in on Gen AI. I didn't, but you did just remind me. I need to whine and complain about something I saw that I wanted to look more into, and hopefully what I read was wrong, about how Halo Studios is prioritizing remaking the original trilogy. I know they're already doing the CE remake. I've already given my fucking 2 cents on that. I don't think there's a reason to remake a game that you've already remade. I don't care if it's on a new engine. They have already, with the MCC, remade Halo CE. Like, you don't need to do it again. And they're doing it without multiplayer, so they're literally just remaking the remake on just the single player. That's useless to me. And I read that they're doing the same thing for Halo 2 and 3. Again, with the MCC, they have already remade Halo 2, kind of Anniversary Edition. They don't need to do it again. A Halo 3 remake, that is a little more understandable, but still, you already have the MCC. Why not just work on a new Halo that's good? And we can forget about, what's been happening recently. Now, I want to look it up and see if that's actually true or not, and hope it's very wrong. Because I think that is so silly. I think that is just so silly. If you want to give the Halo series to, PlayStation, get them involved, just give them the MCC. Don't waste years and years of resources and time remaking your remakes. I'm here talking about Halo Combat Evolved remake. New multiplayer planned. We don't have any info on that. New report from Rebs Gaming indicates that there are also plans to remake both Halo 2 and 3, in addition to CE. And is this a reliable source? How reliable? Yesterday I confirmed Halo Studios is planning to remake the original Halo trilogy, and today I'm working on another report about Halo Studios. Is this about Gen AI then? Was that his next report? I can already just feel the writing on the wall. How did it come to this? What happened? What happened? Report, Halo Studios going all in on Gen AI. Xbox Studios hiring ML experts for Gears and Forza as well. One key aspect the developer is focusing on is generative AI. New evidence spotted by Rebs Gaming, that's who broke this one, highlights how artificial intelligence is expected to become a pillar of development for future Halo titles. Yeah! That's what we needed! Halo Studios has hired a new chief of staff, Angela Hesian, who previously worked as the global head of gaming safety and trust at Microsoft. However, she also started her own AI consulting company in 2024. We're so back. Halo's returning to the glory days! Gen AI ought to bring it back. The first thing you think of when you hear AI-generated games is high quality. Now imagine when you take the talent of the former 343 team and couple them with AI, what they can create. The sky's the limit! Unbelievable, man. Oh my god. Whatever, it's not like it was working for them anyway. Like they have been in a rough spot for a while. I can't imagine it getting worse. Whatever. Rebs Gaming is pretty reliable. He started the rumor about the CE remake. Well, he was right there. And this sounds, I mean, this is not really a rumor, that's pretty cut and dry. Yeah. It's not looking good for the future of Halo Studios. I'll be honest, I bought into the hopium that maybe rebranding as Halo Studios, switching engines, and just ground up would be a fresh start and be good. It's looking worse. It's looking much worse. Oh, that makes me so sad. Why would you fall for that? The same people still work there. I don't fucking know, man. One of the things I think really fucked them with Halo Infinite was spending like 8 years developing a $500 million slipspace engine that they couldn't even figure out how to use. So I thought by just switching to an engine that they don't have to constantly like tweak and fucking titty twist on, it would save them a lot of trouble and be able to actually focus on making a good game. By the way, that $500 million slipspace engine now retires with only one game ever being made with it. Fucking awesome investment. Was the engine any good? Maybe they should just release it. I don't think anyone wants to touch it. If the people who fucking made the engine couldn't even use it to develop Halo Infinite where they had to like restart twice or whatever, I don't think anyone's gonna want to take the time to try and learn it themselves. That's because they use contractors, so they didn't have any time to learn it before they left. Oh, wait, is that what happened? I remember the contractor fiasco. I didn't know it was engine related, where they just basically bounced without ever teaching them. I didn't know that. Remember how they said adding Team Slayer was a difficult task and might take some time after release? I don't remember that. I just remember how the multiplayer came out. I actually had like a lot of fun with it for a couple weeks. And then I finished everything the multiplayer had to offer. And then for 2 years after that, it stayed exactly the same with nothing in it. Yeah, it was like 6 maps and nothing else in 3 game modes. They couldn't get Forge out in time. They still never even followed through on the split screen or anything. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's so sad. It's so sad. Didn't Glitchers find a way to do split screen because they couldn't do it? Yeah, eventually the community found a way to brute force it. Yeah, no, it makes me salty. I just... Especially after replaying the good Halos, I just wish it could somehow get back to that former glory. That's all. I just hate to see what's happened to this. Now, I fully recognize there are people out there that are excited about remaking the original trilogy again. I just am not one of them. I really can't fathom why you would be excited about that. They have already remade CE once. They have already done an upgrade to Halo 2 once as well. Why do it again? Like, I don't care that it's a new engine. It's still the same experience. Like, I don't care if it's prettier and whatever. In fact, I prefer the old look of those games. I like the originals. I don't need them remade and then remade again. I would much rather Halo go forward as opposed to just staying in the past for all of these, like, nostalgia trip moments. Like, you remember this? Well, check it out now with ray tracing. Like, I don't give a fuck, man. Just try and make a good Halo again. That's what I really want. And I truly don't understand the decision to remake CE and then not include multiplayer. That is actually, like, a crazy, stupid idea. That is an indefensible notion. I do not get that whatsoever. But again, maybe the multiplayer Halo they're working on will save all of it. I just don't have any confidence in them to. I really don't. This feels like they are completely directionless and just stuck trying to recreate the magic of the past. And not even recreate it. They're not even really trying to do that. They're just trying to once again show you the magic of the past made by people that don't work at the current studio that's showing you it. So, like, I just think there's so little to be excited about with that direction. And I know I already addressed this on stream. I've seen the cope where people are saying this is to introduce a new generation of Halo to get them excited about it on, like, PlayStation and everything. Okay, great. Give them the MCC. That is the whole point of the MCC. Why would you waste all this time and money doing this for that? You already have the MCC. Give them that. I don't like it. I do not like the green eggs and ham here. And I really, 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 really don't like the Gen AI enthusiasm that's reportedly present here at Microsoft and Halo Studios for their upcoming Halo titles. They were already slop before AI was introduced. I can only imagine how much worse it will get with that. Like, again, just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it's looking like it can. If they are truly going all in on Gen AI for Halo games coming up, there is just no hope. So yeah, I've been yapping about this for a bit now, I know. But I just really love this franchise and really hate what's happened to it. And it's not looking like there's any greener pastures coming up or anything like really shining bright in the future with Halo Studios here at the helm. But I guess maybe the multiplayer game might have some potential. I don't know. I can't believe I'm still latching on to hopium here, but I just had to whine about it a little bit more. That's really about it. So yeah. For the last decade, Xbox has kind of been like the James Corden of gaming consoles, where it's a joke that's just sad. It doesn't make you laugh. It just makes you feel bad because Xbox used to be such a juggernaut. And it's no secret, Xbox has been struggling harder than me trying to reach something on the top shelf of my kitchen. They just have not been able to find their footing. They haven't really been flourishing in the gaming space for quite a while. And now it's looking like they're just getting put in the dirt. It looks like they're going straight to Valhalla. Phil Spencer is leaving Xbox, and he is being replaced by a new individual who has no experience in gaming whatsoever, at least nothing that is publicly available, and is basically solely AI driven, like all in on AI, which is about as exciting as getting kicked in the scrotum. This is just a recipe for disaster, especially considering most people can identify the solution to the Xbox problem. Their woes have a very glaring, obvious solve that would probably help them a lot. Most people can pin the tail on this donkey. Can you guess it? I'll hit you with the Door of the Explorer. More games. Microsoft there was a time when Microsoft shut down more studios than games they released in the first half of 2024. Microsoft has become more known for shutting down studios than they have releasing games. So the Xbox problem is no games. How do you solve that? Games. Like, there's just no reason to own an Xbox when there's nothing that's really coming to it. So now you have someone who's in this position that doesn't have any relationship with games, like, in their history. So this problem is still seemingly going to go unsolved. For all of Phil Spencer's faults and, like, the missteps with Microsoft, it's pretty inarguable that Phil Spencer at least knew games. Like, he was in the games industry for decades. And even though, of course, he made some real wacky, Insano-style calls, especially with, like, fucking Redfall, Lord help us all, heavens to Betsy. Sometimes you'll still wake up with cold sweats remembering that disaster, that blunder. But even still, he at least had so much experience in the games industry, which this new leader does not. So let's kind of go through the whole thing. We'll start with Phil Spencer's departure here from Microsoft. He actually made a Twitter post about it saying, "It's rare in life to know when a chapter is closing, but after 38 years at Microsoft, that moment has arrived for me. I've made the decision to retire and begin the next chapter of my life. It's a milestone that's given me a chance to reflect on the incredible journey I've been fortunate enough to share with so many of you." Now, also, Xbox President Sarah Bond is leaving as well, so both Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond are no longer with Xbox. Well, will soon be no longer with Xbox. It's a sweet, concise message just letting everyone know that he's sailing off into the sunset. And I think it makes a lot of sense here. He's been in this industry at this company for many decades now, many, many moons, and he wants to do something else. Totally understandable. I also imagine that the last few years at Microsoft here haven't been the most fun with everything that's been happening with Xbox. And Phil Spencer's been the face of Xbox. And recently, that face has been getting shoved in the toilet and they're flushing it. They're giving him a swirly because most people point the finger at Phil Spencer for all of the Microsoft and Xbox decisions that have been very poorly received, and he's been shouldering a lot of blame. I have to imagine that doesn't feel good, especially when there's a good chance some of those decisions weren't from the old noodle of Phil Spencer. It could have been calls made from elsewhere that maybe he didn't even agree with in the first place, but since he's the face of Xbox, the public would eat him alive for it. So I really do find it very understandable that he wants to step away from Xbox at this point in time and explore other aspects in his professional life outside of Microsoft. I'll quickly just dump my take in here. I also think a change in leadership at Xbox was warranted. Just look at how things have been going for Xbox for over a decade now. There's just been a huge problem with delivering games from so many of these studios that they have there, and things just haven't really been, the smoothest. So I do think there needed to be a leadership shakeup and, maybe a change in direction at the company. But I think the new captain of the kickball team here over at Xbox that they have chosen just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a gaming console whose biggest fucking problem is not having games. Now with Phil Spencer gone, and in his place steps Asha Sharma, who is currently the president at Microsoft's Core AI product, previously with Meta and previously with Instacart. No gaming background, but it seems like a strong focus on AI in her career recently. So now she's taken the Xbox Iron Throne, which is leaving a lot of people very skeptical, because why would you hire a CEO of a gaming company who has no experience with gaming? It's a really weird fit. Now, there is a message from Asha Sharma. There is a memo that went out where she tries to kind of get ahead of like the AI stuff. So the first part of her message is talking about, how excited she is and thanking Phil and his leadership in the studios. And then she goes on to say, "My first job is simple: understand what makes this work and protect it." That starts with 3 commitments. First, great games. Everything begins here. We must have great games beloved by players before we do anything. Unforgettable characters, stories that make us feel, innovate gameplay, and create excellence. And basically going on to say like how important great games are. Second, the return of Xbox. This is something Phil Spencer also said once or twice, if I remember correctly, and every time that this comes up, the return of Xbox, they make it sound like it's a fucking Jedi coming back. Yet, unfortunately, it still hasn't arrived, taken the scenic route. But she's highlighting the importance of bringing back, the former glory of Xbox with a recommitment to core Xbox fans and players that have invested with them for over 2 decades, celebrating the roots and renewed commitment. And then third, the future of play. We are witnessing the reinvention of play. That, to me, just feels like a bunch of mumbo-jumbo buzzword nonsense. I don't think there's a reinvention of play. People still just want to play good games. I don't think there's like a huge change in how they want to play those games. It's just a desire for games, which have been severely lacking with Xbox. To meet the moment, we will invent new business models and new ways to play by leaning into what we already have. Iconic teams, characters, and worlds that people love, but we will not treat these works as static IP to milk and monetize. We will build a shared platform and tools that empower developers and players to create and share their own stories. So, there's some good and bad in there. That's great that they don't want to just take beloved IP and characters and milk them till the tits fall off. That's good news. But that last sentence about developing a shared platform and tools to empower developers and players to create and share their own stories gives me the same DNA that Roblox and Fortnite have kind of pitched about like AI to make your own games in their game, which isn't very exciting to me. But maybe it is to a lot of other players. I'm not really sure, and I don't really think that'd be like the best direction to go. As monetization and AI evolve and influence this future, we will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop. Okay, I mean, that sounds good, but I take it with a huge grain of salt considering it's coming from an executive who is extremely intertwined with AI. So I would be shocked if she actually does have this view of soulless AI slop being the enemy. considering her professional career for the last few years is all about AI in general. So I guess we'll wait and see there, but it'd be wonderful if the focus isn't on just farting out AI slop at Microsoft. That'd be great. Games are and always will be art crafted by humans and created with the most innovative technology provided by us. The next 25 years belong to the teams who dare to build something surprising, something no one else is willing to try, and have the patience to see it through. We've done this before, and I am here to help us do it again. I want to return to the renegade spirit that built Xbox in the first place. It will require us to relentlessly question everything, revisit processes, protect what works, and be brave enough to change what does not. Thank you for welcoming me into this journey, Asha. Now, to me, a lot of that statement feels like hollow PR speak, where it's just standard PR drivel. You know, we've got to return to the roots. It's all about the players. We can't be succumbing to the dark side of AI slop or anything like that. Which, you know, it's hard to really be super enthusiastic considering this is a leader who, for the last few years, has been all about AI and profits and, you know, profits by any means necessary. Like, it's not an amazing, like, exciting fit for a gaming company to have a leader who has no experience in their professional career with gaming. That makes it feel like this is a decision that is solely about trying to find ways to squeeze profits out of the Xbox, as opposed to trying to find ways to actually return the Xbox to its former glory. Because I imagine if you were looking for a leader to slot into Xbox for a new era of amazing games to make it a powerful console player again, you would probably look for someone that actually has a passion for games itself. Like, I don't know, but that's just my 2 cents, and perhaps I'm on Fent for thinking that. Overall, it is just kind of hard to be excited about the future of Xbox, and I guess we'll see how it goes under this new leadership here. Anyway, that's really about it. So yeah, the world is actually hollow and flat. Xbox stopped taking L's. Between these two statements, which is more unbelievable? Probably the Xbox one. Xbox has been circling the drain for a handful of years now. The reputation of Xbox has gone into the shitter. Let's just be honest, let's not huff all that copium and fall into delusional genjutsu about, well, Xbox had this going for it and that. They have done everything they can to fully wipe their ass with everything that made Xbox so special for so long. And really the nail in the coffin was the absurd price hike of Game Pass. They brought it all the way up to $30 for Ultimate. And then they announced that Phil Spencer would be stepping down from his position and they were going to be trapping him in a Forerunner prison like the fucking Didact. And in his place, they announced a new CEO named Asha Sharma. And I made a video talking about that decision, that I do believe letting go of Phil Spencer was the right call. He had proven that he couldn't exactly steer the company in the right direction to navigate its tricky position that it finds itself in. Is kind of a fucking joke, like this communal spittoon everyone takes turns hawking a loogie in. So it makes sense that they'd want a change, but I was not convinced Asha Sharma was a good fit, considering prior to her position here at Xbox, she had no experience in the games industry, and her previous roles were all AI first and foremost. It was big pushes in AI-driven tech, and it felt like she was coming in kind of just as end-of-life care, where she was going to be the one kind of slowly pulling the plug on this whole Xbox thing and just letting it die quietly in the night with a sad whimper and a wet fart. But man, with what's been happening here, I gotta tell you, Asha Sharma's got my whole asshole in my mouth right now, because she is making some genuinely positive changes, and Xbox is squeaking out a few W's right now. The most notable, and the one that everyone's talking about, is the unprecedented change to their subscription price, where instead of going up, it went down. I didn't even know that was possible. This is one of the first times I have ever seen any subscription service get cheaper. She made a statement saying that Game Pass Ultimate has become too expensive for too many players, which is the fat, sloppy truth that is more true than me being short. I've always said Game Pass Ultimate is a good service, but 30 clams a month I think is too expensive for it. Keep in mind, in October of 2025, they literally increased the price by 50% out of nowhere. Like, that is unreasonable. So they announced that starting today, the price will be dropping from $30 a month down to $23 a month, but future Call of Duty titles will no longer be hitting Ultimate on day one, which I don't think is a deal breaker or anything. And it's not just Ultimate that got a price drop. PC Game Pass also received a price drop from $16.49 to $14.99. So overall, bucking the trend of subscription prices only ever going up was extremely surprising here, especially from Xbox. Now, I want to bring up something that a lot of people are also mentioning. This is a sentiment that's been echoed across the community, how even with this price reduction, which is appreciated, mind you, you are still paying 30% more for the service than you were prior to their outrageous price increase in October. So, it is nice that they're reducing the price, but it is still higher than what it was just 6 months ago. And it's not by like a meaningless margin, it is still about a 30% increase in price paying for that same service. So it's a good start, I will say. It is a good start. And it's especially refreshing coming from a brand as fucking tarnished as Xbox. So I think some of the immediate changes Asha has been making under her leadership have been very positive. This is a step in the right direction. Yes, I would have liked to see them bring the price a little bit lower to what it was prior to 6 months ago, but even still, this is rare to see a subscription price reduction. So that's nice. I hope to see more decisions like that. And this isn't the only thing Asha's done that I think is a positive change for Xbox. She got rid of the whole "This is Xbox" campaign and replaced it with "We are Xbox" and changed their logo. Now, the logo is still fundamentally the same, but they brought in the classic green. It feels like it has more life to it now. A lot less sterile and like... It's a small change, obviously, just changing the colors around, cleaning it up a little bit, polishing it. But to take it back to the roots, I think is very smart. There was a time when Xbox was a juggernaut in this space. And I know recently Phil Spencer did like the world's smallest violin tour, basically just doing funeral eulogies for Xbox, where he just kept saying over and over, yeah, we lost the console wars, yeah, we're not very good right now, that kind of thing. That has become what people think of in Xbox when they think of Xbox right now. So to change the logo to make you go back and recognize where Xbox was, I think is refreshing. And it really feels like they at least loosely understand that. In one of their statements, they close it out by saying, the model that got us here won't be the one that takes us forward. 1000%. You are right on the money there. All of the missteps and all of like the Xbox One is the entertainment hub. Can't spell entertainment without Xbox. Obviously, I'm exaggerating some of the shit, but the thing that completely ruined them was the model that Xbox needs to be more than gaming. It needs to be like your all-in-one, all-encompassing entertainment hub. And it just got so scattered and just so bastardized along the way that now no one even knows what the fuck the Xbox's purpose is. It barely competes with games. They have so many studios under their umbrella that churn out nothing. They just fucking just empty puffs. So like, yes, they're completely correct. The model that got them to where they are today in this rough spot will not be the one that saves them. So departing from that and going back maybe to the roots, like what the logo leads me to believe they're trying to do, is the right call. Again, it was never a secret what can save Xbox. Games. Good games. Everyone has been saying that. Literally everyone knows that. It's not the most difficult concept to grasp. The hardware on Xbox is great. I've always said Xbox Series X is a fine piece of hardware. It's very solid. But there's very few reasons to own the Xbox because there's very few games on that motherfucker. That bitch has less games than the Ouya. Like, it is in a rough spot when it comes to, like, actual games that Microsoft has been able to produce for their console. The only reason people play anything on Xbox is because their friends might already have the Xbox. That's it. Otherwise, you're probably playing it elsewhere, like on PC or something. So, like, the Xbox is a good piece of hardware, that needs good games on it. And it's something that Microsoft has just been unable to accomplish for many years now. But it really does feel like Asha is trying, and is trying to push Xbox back in that direction, which I appreciate. I do give that a round of applause. The price drop is great. The logo change, smart. Those kind of immediate, actionable changes do give a lot of weight to her statements when she says things like, as monetization and AI evolve and influence this future of gaming, we will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop. Games are and always will be art crafted by humans and created with the most innovative technology provided by us. This is something she said when she first came in, and she's saying all the right words there, but it's hard to believe that initially because she came from an AI background, and Microsoft seemed to be trending in that direction. But now that she's making these changes here, I'm starting to believe that maybe this is something she's striving towards. Not just farting out AI slop till the cows come home to flood Xbox, but instead actually recommitting to making great games. Creative games made by talented developers. I'm hoping we can start to see that. I would love if Xbox turned it around. I know I've shat on them many times over the years. I do that for Nintendo and Sony as well, but Xbox in particular has been in a really, really bad spot. So yeah, of course I've been clowning on them quite a bit. But it's not because I want to see them fail. I want to see them succeed. As I've always said, my favorite console, my favorite generation, Xbox 360 era. Xbox 360 is and always will be my favorite console. That was my best memories in gaming. And it was the last time Xbox was special. I would love to see it get back to that former glory. I really would. And if I may make a recommendation, if you're watching this, Asha, please do something about Halo. Oh my goodness, Halo Studios is nothing but a bad news factory. Jiminy Christmas. Just 2 days ago, it is being reported that they're working on a Halo extraction shooter, which is coming off the tail end of a canned Halo Battle Royale. Please do something about Halo. It is tragic. It is so sad. Why would they even be considering a Battle Royale for Halo? They're already a decade late to that trend, and now they're replacing that with an extraction shooter, and they're too late to that trend as well. Why? It's already getting stale, and the game hasn't even begun. So by the time it rolls out, it's going to be beyond dead. Please do something about Halo. Oh my goodness, we are overdue for some good news in this franchise, please. Holy. Anyway, though, I just wanted to yap a little bit about the current state of Xbox and say that I may have been wrong about Asha here. I think I was wrong. I appreciate that she is genuinely making some positive changes there. And hopefully that will continue. I hope this isn't just like a, honeymoon stage thing where she comes in, starts making good changes for a few months, and then it goes right back into the same corporate greedy shit that got us here in the first place. I would love to see this continue, and hopefully Xbox can be a legitimate player in the game space again. That's really about it. So yeah. We have been schmeckledorfed. It's only been 2 months since they played the big prank on us, since we were all deceived, like Sauron giving us the rings. I foolishly bought into the idea that Xbox's new CEO, Asha Sharma, was on the right path after she made that statement about the shortcomings and what Xbox needs to return to its former glory, and even dropping the absurd Game Pass prices down, which I know isn't some move of an angel, like it's not some benevolent gift she bestowed upon us out of the goodness of her heart. It is a standard business tactic called price anchoring, because where they ended up with the new price for Game Pass is still higher than where the price was initially before they had the absolute lunacy that was the 50% price increase, which is just fucking sinful. Trust me, just like when the peanut butter's on the top shelf, I know it's there and it's painful. I get it, I really do. But what you have to understand, when it comes to Xbox, we are just emaciated when it comes to anything positive in that fucking cesspool. You have to dumpster dive into the very bottom, get into the dumpster juice, the sludge water there, to find W's when there's even a morsel of one there. And in this case, her reverting that price even a little bit, like taking foot off of everyone's nutsack, I believed was at least a step in the right direction. And the thing she was saying was accurate about like why Xbox is no longer the juggernaut that it was. So I really did think that she was starting to course correct the ship here. But now, sports fans, I gotta tell you, it really seems like anyone who takes up the mantle at Xbox is cursed to ride the Orb of Confusion crazy style. Like, that's the only explanation here. They are once again back on their barnacles, bro. And to be fair, it's not even accurate to say that, because they just never stopped with the horseradish. I just assumed, and I think a lot of us assumed, that with Asha correctly identifying the shortcomings of the Xbox brand for so long, they would also have that come to Jesus moment, that eureka, the light bulb that goes off in their head, that the relentless, ruthless, cutthroat shutting down of studios was also not helping them at all. In most cases, there were a few that I understood where they just literally had nothing to show for years upon years of work, like just couldn't release a game, so I get it because it was just hemorrhaging money, just these huge payments and still not a single game that they were able to fart out. Like, I get those. But that's not all of their shutdowns. And their most recent ones actually have me at my chin scratching the fuck out of it because I can't understand. Because some of the studios they shut down are actively far along in development on titles people are excited for, or they have also just recently released titles as well. It just makes no sense to be constantly looking for ways of shutting down these studios when the biggest problem, the one that's plagued Xbox the most above all others, and one that Asha herself has even tinkered around with and slapped around, is that Xbox has no games. There is nothing to justify spending the hundreds of dollars required to get the Xbox when there's just fucking nothing on it except dust and broken dreams. Like, there is no reason for you, nor I, nor your mom's boyfriend, your dad, whoever, to go out and get an Xbox. There's just no fucking games for it. And you know what doesn't help there is shutting down all the studios that are working on games. And that's what's just happened here. And you know what else just happened here? Me dropping the truth about the best damn beverage on the planet. Gamerade from GamerSups. This is my new flavor here. Motion Potion. Can't get the camera to focus on it. There it is. It was glistening too brightly with the heavenly glow. Gamerade is a no caffeine, no sugar, hydration formula with creatine. And I think you all know by now I'm a big proponent of creatine. The quantity in here isn't for like weightlifting or anything, it's just for general brain health, just to keep you sharp. So if you're interested in trying it, you can click the link in the description below. And like I was saying, it is happening again here with Xbox. They have just shut down Ninja Theory. And they put the fear of God in other studios under their umbrella. It's not even really an umbrella. They got them in like fucking pit of like barbed wire. Basically, they're walking on eggshells down there, but they have also apparently been tinkering around with the idea of, you know, Double Fine, maybe closing the door there, Compulsion Games, and Arcane. Now, I think this is crazy because at the most recent Xbox showcase, which was like 8 days ago, they prominently featured Ninja Theory's upcoming game, the new Hellblade game, Sinwa. And I understand the Hellblade franchise has historically flopped. It's been kind of weak in terms of sales, and I personally am not a huge fan of them. I find them to be more like tech demos than actual games. But they were actively far along with Sinwa, and they had even showcased it at Xbox's own event to pretty big success, because it looks like they were prioritizing making it a game for the first time in this franchise's history. So it was pretty exciting to a lot of people, and now they announced that the studio's banished to the Shadow Realm after they just unveiled it, and it comes out early 2027, so they are presumably like at the finish line of this game. If you were going to shut down Ninja Theory, why wouldn't you do it after Hellblade 2's flop? Why wait until this is already like almost done to shut it down instead of like let them release the game? Because at least you'd still have a game coming from them. Now you just have nothing to show for it. Again, the biggest problem is they don't have games, and now they've just shut down a studio that does have a big game on the horizon. It just seems very silly. And Double Fine, they just released a game not long ago. Compulsion just released a game not long ago. Like, it's just, there are studios Microsoft could shut down that I would understand again, because they have so many studios that just aren't making anything. Literally, not making anything. And they did overextend when they started gluttonously gobbling up every game development studio on the planet and putting them under Microsoft. Tons of them just coasted and haven't made anything. Why not target some of those that still have nothing to show? Why go after some of these that are actively making games? Even if the games aren't performing up to like the standards you would like to see, it's still better than nothing. And they have a lot of nothing under their umbrella. I just don't get why the crosshair wouldn't be over there. R.I.P. Ninja Theory? What? Wait, what? They just unveiled the new Hellblade. And now they're shutting them down? Compulsion Games, Double Fine, and Arcane are also at risk of getting shut down. Yeah, I see Compulsion and Double Fine here. Arcane too? They were told on a call on Monday, and they've got several other active negotiations about spinning off Compulsion Games and Double Fine. Asha Sharma and Chief Content Officer Matt Booty warning last week of a reset at Xbox, laying out several challenges facing Xbox business, including that it had overextended with its studio system, and the hardware component crisis is significantly driving up prices. It's an actual dumpster fire at Xbox right now. Head of Xbox Game Studio left, and Treyarch Studios head left as well. What? What is going on? Really, I truly am confused by this, because I didn't play Compulsion's last game, which was South of Midnight, and I recognize that they've only released like 3 games in 17 fucking years, so they're extremely slow. But they've still done more than like a bunch of other studios that Xbox still has. So like they did release a game. I don't know how it did like financially, but like the fact they even released a game is infinitely more than you could say for so many of their fucking studios that they haven't axed. And Double Fine, they released a game this year. And they released a game last year as well. And they had Psychonauts 2, which was a super banger in 2021. So like they are cranking games. And I'm pretty sure the 2 games Double Fine has released over the last 2 years, Keeper and Kiln, have been very well received. I don't know how they've done financially, but even still, they are making games. Like, that is what you want from these studios. Like, they are making games, and those were, from what I can tell, pretty well received. Now, I know they haven't, like, officially, put belt to ass on Double Fine and the others, but the fact that it's even on the table just shows that they are really out of touch. They need games. That is the only thing that saves this brand, is games. And you are now going after developers that are providing you games. Again, even if they're not grand salami, super touchdowns, you're still getting games. And in the case of like Double Fine or Ninja Theory, like Ninja Theory games, even though I don't like Hellblade, they are well received. So like you're still getting like high quality games that come out. Why would those be the ones that you would look at here to just get rid of? Especially coming in as a new CEO when you want like hype. Like you want things that'll get people excited. And what gets people excited is more games that are good and high quality. Not the opposite of taking even more games away from an already barren wasteland of a platform. Can't believe you got tricked into thinking Xbox was back. I never said that. I never said Xbox was back, just that Asha was at the very least not driving it more actively into the ground. It was taking steps to steer it in the right direction. And now it's right back to standard Xbox behavior. Is there a way back for Xbox? Games! Games! Make games! The way back is through games that aren't $400 million like Gears E-Day apparently is. People are theorizing that Sinwa trailer was more of a teaser if some other company wants to buy Ninja Theory off of Microsoft. I don't see that happening though, man. I really don't. Like, you might be right, maybe that theory is accurate, but who would step in and buy them in the current climate of AAA gaming? Especially given how Hellblade 1 and 2 performed, right? Like, it just feels like that's cooked, like that's just kind of curtains. I don't know if there's maybe a path forward for Ninja Theory to independently release it. Oh man, I don't know if that mic picked that up, but that was a juicer. But maybe there is. Don't Nod and Quantic Dream also getting layoffs, reduced funding, even reports that Bethesda, BioWare, and id are all in trouble. Looks like it's starting to collapse, man. The crazy, crazy budgets could only last so long. You think this will happen with Gears as well? If Gears E-Day doesn't do fucking record numbers, I bet Coalition gets shut down, yeah. I think it's already set up for failure now that it's completely exclusive and apparently 400 million in the can. So yeah, I think Coalition's definitely next. Why do they shut down studios instead of selling them? Well, I think they'd prefer to sell them if they could, but there's not a lot of buyers. There's only so many buyers. Hasn't Bethesda only made like 2 games in 15 years? Yeah, but Bethesda's like a powerhouse, so when their games release, it's like a safe bet. Even their stinkers like Starfield. I love Kazan and they fired the whole team after. Yeah, we already lamented that, talking about Kazan. Fucking shame, man. Changing gears real quick to the Kazan topic. That one actually hurts my feelings. That is so fucking sad. They made an incredible game, an extraordinary game. Everyone liked it. And they still got taken out behind the barn and put down. Just curtains. Even though they made a game that was universally appreciated. It just straight up feels like there is no winning. Like Battlefield. Battlefield is another great example. The new Battlefield. The most recent Battlefield did really well. Very well received. Huge layoffs. Like, make a good game, get fired. Make a bad game, get fired. Make a game, get fired. Don't make a game, get fired. You don't win in the AAA space in its current iteration. It is not sustainable. It's a fucking bloodbath, and it's filled with like just so many sterile, boring-ass products that you know are doomed for failure, yet they still just put so much money into them for seemingly no reason, and then are surprised when it doesn't work out. I hate to just keep harping on this, but let's look at Marathon. Marathon is a game that today had 1,000 players. 1,000 players in Marathon, a Bungie flagship game. 1,000 players. They just pulled support from Destiny 2. Like, you can still play it, but like no more updates are coming to Destiny 2. It's all in on Marathon. It has 1,000 players. Everyone was saying, and anyone could tell you, that this game never stood a chance to be like a huge staple in gaming as like a live service extraction shooter. They keep chasing these white whales that are just unreasonable, and they're pouring endless clams in it and just suffocating themselves for it, and then end up closing other studios as a result. Like, it's such a disaster. It is such a disaster. These bloated budgets, this mismanagement, it sucks so much, bro. It is so terrible. And it just keeps happening. Like, no lessons are being learned by these higher-ups on the food chain at these massive corporations. They keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. I don't know how many times we need to watch a lower-budget title pop off, blow up, and take the world by storm for them to realize that the future is by having lower-budget games that don't take 8 years to develop and $400 million. It's smaller games from a passionate team that do try and do unique things, not the same standard generic formulaic shit that they keep regurgitating every single time they go around. People are tired of it, and it shows. Like, I just don't know how else to get it through, because they're not picking up the right lessons here. It's such a shame, but anyway, I just wanted to yap about this. That's really about it. So yeah.